So this is by far our busiest week we've ever had, ever since we've stepped into this journey of virtual production. And instead of sleeping, we're going to talk about every last detail. So come hang out with us and enjoy this episode of The Debrief.
We have just finished a very long week of recording, Monday through Friday. It's Friday right now, about 2:47 p.m. So we finished not on a very late time on the Friday, but we have been filming all week long. I can't wait for you to watch this. We're going to show you, I actually didn't count the number of sets, but 10 or 11 sets that we've done this week. We've done plates, Unreal, Ultimate, and what's really cool about this one is we have Audrey here with us. Welcome, Audrey. And so Audrey's here as representative of the client, and I said she was asking if we could do plus delta and look through how we could make this better. I'm like, we do that anyway on the debrief. So welcome. The rules are there are no rules. Like, let's talk about everything. Nothing's off limits. So this is super cool because you're new to this organization that you're representing, and you've only been there about a month or so. Is that right?
Yeah.
So
5 weeks.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you've jumped right in. And have you ever done film production stuff before?
I did Jasper Television at my high school.
Heck yeah. So that's really awesome. So this will be great because you'll get to give some client perspective as you'll probably learn some behind the scenes stuff that we were doing.
But yeah, I've learned so much.
I'd love to hear like things that you noticed or were surprises or things that were bad, all of it. We're going to talk about all of it on this episode of The Debrief. Okay, let's get started. So here we are getting things ready. We're getting all these different sets ready. The other person we were working with in your organization, he seemed very open to like, sure, that sounds great. Like kind of like, you guys just do your thing. So we're doing our thing, making things go. And I think it was towards the end of the week, maybe Wednesday or Thursday of last week. I don't know. Do y'all remember when I got the information that we need an outdoor set?
Yeah. That might have been maybe Tuesday.
It's such a blur. Within a week of filming, we found this out. So we started working through, well, how can we do this? Because we had a lot on our plate kind of stacked because we've been filming other things to stop and do this. So I realized, oh, good, I actually have a set. And so, Morgan, you can cut over here. Morgan's not picking his nose on that, but so this is me taking like a picture of my Ultimate monitor. But so this was kind of the set we had that we were trying to work through. There's an interstate that's driving above the water. So I cut that out, and then we were working with like, what should we make the background? And so I found this, and I'm like, this looks pretty good, but it's like very iconically Yosemite. And it was like, well, oh, sorry.
Yellowstone.
The rules were
whatever. Yeah, whatever.
Yosemite. And so whatever it was very obviously that. And the client specifically was saying, can this look like fall? Because this was kind of talking about end of life stuff. And so he wanted to have that kind of like a visual metaphor. Mm-hmm. So we worked through a couple of things. There's Rigby making a little appearance there. When I drug these into the presentation, they were going to be videos. That didn't work out quite right.
Look, and Lux is in the bottom corner.
Yeah, there's Lux.
Both my dogs, maybe.
Shout outs.
Tyler's in the other corner.
So then I moved it over to this other background. So I'm cutting this out. But to be fair, I didn't home run the water feature like it was, because it's kind of cut out. So the water's kind of hitting up against a mask. So it was very noticeable. It was very pretty, but it wasn't working. I fought forever on this. So things I learned very quickly are Unreal's workflow is so much better than trying to modify a plate. If we have a plate and we're using it as is, it's awesome. As soon as we start trying to layer it, I'm just not good at it. And so I hereby, by the power vested in me, fire me from trying to edit any of these in the future. I did a bad job, and it was just very, very stressful.
If there's movement.
Yeah, because there was movement.
Yeah.
So I was layering videos, which we'll get to here in a second.
Yeah.
I'm so curious how this went.
Yeah.
It was hard watching you struggle with it. So.
It was tough. It was a very tough. It was very bad. And we had a network outage. We had a variety of things that were really just all happening simultaneously. That was definitely
This was all on day one, on
day
Monday?
one.
Well, and you running to go buy furniture. You had to go buy
Had to
patio
go pick out furniture because I'm like, I don't have
Bring it
outdoor
all back.
furniture.
Yeah.
So maybe skipping to that, and then we'll come back. So then this was kind of finished product. So I ended up building this wall.
Yeah.
So the way I built that wall is I went back to that location, and then I took pictures of a bunch of the wall, and then I stitched together a new wall. And then I felt like, you know what, this little water feature on the side could be like, that's behind those little pillars.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and then I found a video on Envato Elements or whatever of the fall, but it's only like 15 seconds long. These are just like quick clips, y'all. I just kind of cut these out really quickly to show you the 3 shots. So they're just going to loop.
Cool.
So this is the end result, but it's interesting because the wall looks kind of diminished. Like it doesn't look quite as, anyway, it looks like much closer to them. It's a little, it was difficult. So in my loop, so the other challenge about looping these videos is making them loop correctly. And so what we've learned to do, just as the quick tip trick, I don't really have something I can visually show, but imagine a continuum of a timeline. This is the length of the video. Let's say it's 2 minutes long. Then a minute in, cut it. Take that part and put it over, and then put a cross dissolve in the middle. So that's your pro tip on how to take a video and make it loop seamlessly. Cut it in the middle, put it on the other side, cross dissolve in the middle. So, but yeah, it turned out great, and I'm glad I bought, what we did. It felt very nice, and
Can I say something?
Yeah, sure, please.
Okay, so you could have told them where that background was at, but let's not say where it is.
Sure.
And if you answer right in the comments, you get 10 points. I don't know what those
if you
points
could somehow
add up
know where
for,
this
but
is.
Yeah.
Because
If
it's
you take a
also
guess.
very iconic, but to be fair, clouds may be in the way a little.
Yeah.
That'll be your
But
Look
if
at the
you,
tree.
if you guess it right, though, you get 10 points. And a high
tree-
five from Morgan.
yeah.
The tree moving in the upper left corner is what really makes it.
What sells it?
It sells it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever that maple tree or whatever it is.
Uh-huh.
In the
So,
wide shot.
because I didn't have this loop just right, this guy right here, because I didn't have the loop just right, I'm actually going to have to go back and re-render this. So on Monday, I'm going to go through and re-render these to make sure we've got it, just to make it really nice and clean. Okay, so that was that setup that we did. Just to kind of quickly hit on what else we did that day. We also used this set that we've used in Unreal a number of times, and it's a great set. We changed the painting in the background and a couple of other small things, but the big deal here, Morgan, really was Unreal, right? So talk just a little bit about what you did on this one.
Yeah, so one of the challenges we've been kind of like facing is like, how do we get this running in like really real time? And so part of that is like lumen and things like that, so that we're not having to bake our lighting.
Mm-hmm.
That's really been slowing us down. So I ended up converting the scene to be lumen so that we could dynamically adjust the lighting and get all the different shadows. And then tried to use ultra dynamic sky, which was really cool, which let us change time of day. But the issue was outside the window, as you see in that shot there was like nothing. It was just blue sky. So I ended up switching back to what's called a HDRI, which is basically a 360-degree photo. And then that ended up being our background. But that meant I couldn't use ultra dynamic sky anymore. So I had to go back to more traditional Unreal lighting techniques with a directional light. But overall, it was running really well and gave us the flexibility that we needed ultimately for the set.
Possibly a dumb question. But were you still able to change the time of day with HDRI?
You can, but it's done with directional lighting. So it's
Gotcha.
not tied to a time.
So you're not saying 4 p.m.
moving.
You're
Yeah.
moving the sun.
Right.
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
So that's the main difference.
Okay,
on that.
cool. Because I was wondering, and the main difference here that we've done differently is that we've shot with this set a bunch, but this time the shadows are completely different. Like, haven't they been on the floor in the past, or have they always been?
Lighting in general is totally different.
Yes.
The entire way it's lit.
Yeah, it's
instead of
totally
using
different.
Ray tracing, we're using lumen.
So we went from the sunny outdoor patio to the indoor kind of moody look. And had to build in the time to change that set and everything.
We did. We had very limited time to do it. And this set was kind of for a totally different thing. So it did not have, in fact, it was preferable for it to have nothing in common with the other thing we were doing. They're very different things that we did. So now, Audrey, you weren't here yet for this.
I was not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your time's coming. So you'll get to talk more
Stay
in just a minute.
tuned.
Stay tuned. So we did this set, and then he was like, actually, I also need this thing for my website. And so can you guys just give me something that matches the website, whatever? And so it was like, we sure can. In fact, this is a recurring theme throughout, spoiler alert, throughout the week. We were asked moments before, like, hey, can you do this totally different idea? And so super proud of how well we accommodated that. We get 100 extra points for that one, but it also came, there's pros and cons to being extra responsive like that we'll kind of get into as we go through this. So this one, the key is pretty good. It's not the best, it's pretty good. And so what I ended up doing to get this done in time is I just visually matched the blue to the blue on the website that this was going to be going on. So I just looked at their theme, visually matched that, and then I did that in Ultimate. So for those of you that are Ultimate users, I went in and did a test signal generation, and then I just adjusted red, blue, green until I mixed the color that I felt represented the brand that they were doing.
We used to, in the olden days, though, we used to do a lot of this kind of thing with like actual fabric backgrounds. So we had black and white and gray and
or a white background, and then we splashed.
That's right. We would have made it blue. Yeah.
Like physically splash it?
No. Like that's a good
Put
question.
lights on it, shining on it.
Our RGB
blue.
lights would we would project the color. Blue.
Yeah, a white background with
that's
a white
cool.
fabric background. Yeah.
Cool.
So, but that was a quick thing. It was just like a little website blurb that we did on that. And then just one last thing on this really quickly, Morgan, if you can hop over to my AirPlay. I think I'm showing this here. Maybe. So there's Ultimate as I'm going through. So just so you can kind of see, there's the green. We were able to get, I'm not showing false color because we're actually doing this live, but we were able to get a very strong and consistent false color of 44 IRE where it was really smooth on the background of this. So kudos to that. But this was definitely stressful. I mean, I was changing some of the plates as we were doing. I mean, there was adjustments that were being made in real time on this one. So I'm going to go back and
Hey, and in that window up there too was a remote producer. So
that's great. That's right. Yeah, so he was up there zoomed in, so he wasn't able to be here. He was across the country somewhere, and so we just zoomed him in. And then what was cool is we have mix minus all of that fully set up, and so he's able to talk downstage. They didn't have to have an in-ear or anything like that, but he could direct, he could ask questions, and do all of that. As well. And then one last thing about this that was a lesson learned, a new thing that we're doing is we're using Otter.ai, and we're using Otter to do real-time transcription. And so we didn't do much of that this week, but after we were done, the client that was remote was like, hey, send me that file as quickly as you can. And the reason he's asking for that file is he wanted to take it and transcribe it. So I was like, the file is like 70 gigs because it was like an hour and a half interview. So we took that instead, and I just went ahead and stuck it in Otter and then did the transcription. And then I emailed him like, hey, here's the links to the files, of course. Also, I've gone ahead and made a transcription for you. Here it all is done, right?
That's powerful.
Yeah, and that
Very
only
valuable.
took like 20 extra minutes.
Yeah.
But for the client, it's just a nice touch of like, oh, not only did you give me the thing I asked for, but you actually already accomplished the goal that I was trying to get done, right? So anytime we can do that, it's very attractive to have somebody like, oh, you've already solved the problem that I have. That's a big win.
Yeah, being proactive.
Yeah, right.
Such a blessing.
Well, it's
No one does
anticipating
that.
the need. Now, what we didn't do that we could have done is just ask, do you want us to transcribe this? But that just never came up in the conversation. So anyway, yeah. So that was day one, which we didn't start till around lunchtime or so as clients are flying in and whatever, but we did that. So then did you come in on day two? When did you show up? I can't even remember. It's been so many things. So
Dude, I can't remember either.
yeah. So so let's push into day two. So we did 4 sets on day 2.
Gosh,
And
no wonder it felt
sets.
crazy.
That's 4
so
sets.
when we started, our first guest, she came on camera, and I love this set. This is a physical plate that we went shot at a location here in Chattanooga. And it's these 3 shots. So it's just kind of like a wide, a medium, and a side. And I loved this. She did phenomenal. The information that she was sharing was just so valuable, and I loved her in that bright color and the colors in the background. All of this was
It just all happened to match perfectly. Like she happened to bring that pink top, and it was all like, wow, this is all exactly what it would look like,
Yeah, and we that's a recurring theme this week. We got blessed with people showing up and like, that looks amazing on this set.
Yeah.
But I was telling Audrey, what did I tell you we should do for the next
Yeah, I think we'll do a lot more coordination and really planning ahead to not dictate, but just like encourage in a specific direction. Like, hey, we'd love it if you would wear hot pink.
Right.
Yeah, well, color coordination is key, especially if you're representing like a brand.
Right.
And you have and even if you aren't representing a brand, the colors matching the set always just kind of ties that foreground and background together, which we've talked about before. And that becomes pretty important once you realize what it does. Because at first you're just like, oh, wear whatever, as long as it's not green and it doesn't do moiré. And then it's like, oh, wait, actually, we should plan out these outfits to kind of like, because that pink, and you'll see later when we talk about the last set that we did today, when those colors can pull colors out of the background, it helps your brain go, oh, yeah, that's one space. Yeah. It's not a lady on a green screen and then a video.
True, good point. Yeah.
And speaking of moiré, we did have it this week. We had a bunch of moiré happen
in
over
surprising
and over.
places too.
Yeah, even on this shirt in kind of her upper left quadrant of her shoulder on this. They're about 5 seconds each of these. I just did like 3 clips and it's just looping through them. So here, so on this one, you can just kind of see a little flicker that's happening there, and that was kind of surprising. So these are the new Blackmagic Studio 6K Pros. They're brand new. They just came out a couple of weeks ago, and so they're super new, and we're still learning some things about them. We're using the Sigma. This is either the 18 to 35 or the 50 to 100 lens on it. One thing we learned to fix this, if you run into this problem, is if we dolly the camera away from the talent and then zoom in or bring it closer and zoom out, that at different focal lengths, that moiré is very different. So that was discovered in the midst of high intensity stress. So you're welcome to
I couldn't tell.
Let's try something.
I'm like, I don't know what to do. This is the only shirt they have. So
well, she had other shirts. They just didn't work either.
They just didn't look as good.
Yeah, they were also problematic. So, so we shot her in the morning. We were going to do all of this on this set, and in the morning, on the day of shooting, while we're shooting on the day in the morning, they asked for a new set to be made. And this made me realize 2 things of this recurring theme. One is we've created an amazing gift where at the, quote, push of a button, we can change sets. Now, I'm not out telling people that you can just push a button and the sets change. I'm not trying to make it sound that easy. But people see that we can just make it look like anything. Yeah. And so because of that, we that's the pro, is that we can make it look like anything. And the con is the client, no offense, client. The client feels like, oh, this is really easy to change. So like, we'll just ask for a change. And so, so it's a little bit later in the day, I told you and another one of the people from your team, I was like, hey, just a reminder, I'm going to say yes to anything you ask us to do. Whatever you ask, we're going to say yes to, but it's going to come at a cost, right? So we created another set.
In terms of time.
Time, right. Yeah.
Production time, which is
a
money
problem. It's just like, hey, if you want me to make a new set, I've got to relight and do all of this, and we've got to. So we had to do 4. So we ended up doing 4 sets in one day. So the next set on the right is where we landed with the set. We've used it once before, super early on. So super early on, we've used this set, and you can see like
it's literally the second thing we ever did on the green screen.
I think so.
After the rebuild,
y'all, we barely knew what we were doing.
Oh,
so
wow.
like when you look at this, she's kind of tiny. She's super weird orange red color. That blue thing, I don't know what that is. I think that was
You
just
guys have gotten
that's
so
Dropbox.
good at this.
What's that?
Dropbox.
Oh, that's Dropbox. Yeah, whatever. So ignore that part. But like the rest of it, it's not good at all, And so we just weren't there yet. And where we ended up with this time, this is what it looks like. And so, I mean, it just killed. It's like, oh my! And this shot right here,
this is the money.
Is money. It feels
absolutely
so good.
Totally different vibe. Just completely different.
It's so we went from that.
Set the tone so well.
Yes, and I was was so proud of going from such a bright, cheery super set to very intimate. Loved the lighting on her. Just felt great. And so I'm really glad how this turned out. Jay, why don't you say the little secret lighting?
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, a second ago, I was talking about tying the foreground and the background together, which becomes a reoccurring theme that I try to think about. And we did this before with the other one, but it wasn't as prominent on this one. So if you look...
I don't think we did it on this, though. I think we did it on the other set from Lower Brow. I think that's where we learned that technique.
Oh, okay.
Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe.
I can't remember either. I'll have to go back and look.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, if you see on her and then on the edge of the chair, you'll see an orange flicker. I wish I could get it to flicker faster.
It's so
but
cool.
yeah, you'll see kind of an accent of orange, and that is to emulate the fireplace that is there on her left side. Yeah,
all that orange
There
on
it
the
is.
left there on the
on the right, on the left side of the chair. But what we did was we took a Hive 50, which is a smaller light, and we put it over there where the fireplace is, and then we
Shooting
masked
this way.
around it. And so there is a light that has a fire setting on like the little custom settings, and we shined it at the chair and at her, and then kind of like feathered it up off the floor so that it was just kind of hitting in there and giving us that little fiery flicker
Little
tone.
special effects that sell the whole
It's
thing.
so subtle, but there's just this orange that's just kind of hitting, and
Yep.
it's hitting right here on the edge,
Yeah.
and all these very little subtle spots. And it's so subtle, but to me, it's all that little nuance stuff that just changes it to life.
Well, what was fun about that too is that it also helps green spill a little bit because you're sort of combating that
Yeah.
the spill that would come from that area. And then I'll say it again, like that. It's just tying the plate and the foreground together. It's like, what element is it? Your outfit? Is it a light that's shining? Like, because we do it with lights and shadows all the time to really sell it, but that doesn't always really like hit home. So being able to get that fire flickering on her was awesome.
Morgan, you can show the Apple TV that I'm streaming to. So just behind the scenes stuff of just like, this is just me videoing it, but there's the green, that's the plate, right, that we're bringing. There's the cutout. So the Ultimate's amazing. Like all the keys of everything you're seeing is all done in real time.
Yep.
None of this is done in post. But yeah, that's the actual shots. Now you'll notice some noise in that one if you're familiar with keying. But I actually liked it. It added a little grain into that just made it feel a little better to me. See that noise? So I'm kind of pointing that out to just show, don't always be freaked out about that. I felt like, because remember, if you're an Ultimate user, as you move that veil down, it will reduce that noise, but it's also going to make all
Weird
those
things.
tiny little hair flyaways
Yeah.
mess up. And the magic trick is that we see all of those hair bits.
Yeah, you sort of do have to embrace that, because there are literal people that are in the film world who put an actual noise over their shots to get
Absolutely,
that
to
effect,
get
to
a
make it
little
feel alive and real. The grain, yeah.
Normally I'm removing it, but in this case, I really felt like it was adding a little, not distracting from it. So, okay. And so just to kind of wrap up this set, then the other client, he needed to hop in and just record 2 other pieces. So we just said, hey, we can go fast if we sit you down here and just do it on this set. And so we were able to knock him out really quickly. And you could see, I mean, every little individual hair, I love the tonality here. So this is another one of those examples of tone where even if he had like a little bit of a tan, ecru maybe kind of shirt underneath, it would have even tied it in a little more. But as soon as he had that black jacket, it was like, oh, definitely. Because see, look at that shot right there. So if he had ecru on, then it would be like money, because it would just be this very simplified color palette and it just makes it feel super pro.
And then the fire is also on this shot, which you'll see on the chair, but we had to change it a little bit because it was giving him a super red.
It did not react the same way on his skin, on his face. So I just ditched it and pulled it way back
that's
on his face. So you'll see a little bit of it hit right here, but not nearly as much hitting on his face. It was not doing the same effect.
Can we talk about the looping background?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Because there's a guy in one of the shots, you see him, there's a guy sitting there reading a newspaper. And I don't know,
This
like
guy.
see that guy right there,
This guy.
yeah. And every now and then he gets up and walks out of the scene, And then there's another angle where you see it happen sort of in kind of a veiled way, but it's the same guy. So I was always trying to cut away from it so you wouldn't have to see the same guy getting up and walking out. But he just kept coming back and sitting down and then walking out and coming back and sitting down.
This guy reads a paper all day long. Yeah. This one is also, just so you know, this is super composited because we are filming this and it's real. So that light that's splashing on that like large circular pillar behind him, that changes throughout the day. So we went ahead and froze that. So I kind of took that section out. So it's like 4 sections that we did to build this composite.
Yeah, because that tree on the right back there, whenever it's on the close up, it's still kind of moving. And but that shadow, so you masked out that pillar in Photoshop, froze it, and laid it over in the video.
Yeah, it's a lot of layers.
Clever.
I mean, it's
because that's the beauty is seeing that sun in there. But in real life, that would be moving just in the span of 10 minutes. You would watch that really change.
It changes a lot
because it's like going to high noon.
Well, and you did a ton on the fireplace too, didn't you? Like masking off outlets. And
it was super hilarious.
Scratches and
this is a very side tangential thing. 20-second version is this lady comes up to us. She's like, "What are you guys doing? We're filming." "Oh, I'm in video stuff and whatever. I teach it at my school." Awesome. So then she goes and proceeds to sit down. Like she's like, "Oh yeah, I'll stay out of your way," but and it's like great. And then she goes and sits down in this in this shot. Oh, wait a minute. In this shot, not this one. My name's Andre and I just started using a computer. Anyway, she goes and sits down right here in this little setup. So this is a see-through fireplace. So this is seeing the other side.
There's a seating area on the other side of the fireplace.
Yeah, so she's just taking up
I do film.
so much
Let me
of the
ruin
frame.
yours.
And it was like, finally I went over there and I'm like, "Ma'am, would you please move?" I said it better than that, but that's what I said. So
please leave.
Okay, so were you here when this was happening?
Yeah.
Okay, so what was your experience from a client perspective?
Well, from a client my experience was that I had no idea all these things were going on. I was enjoying the lovely environment and all the wonderful people and really honestly just like focused on the content. So I didn't have to think about any of these technical things. So I'm loving this conversation because I didn't know you were doing that. I didn't know that you were looping the tree and watching for the man. Every once in a while I would watch the man get up and grab his newspaper and I was like, that's so cool. He's a real person. So I loved all of it. It was so seamless. So from my perspective, I was
magic was
totally unaware
exactly
of all the hard work you were doing in the background.
That's exactly the experience we're going for. Is like we don't want anyone to. We want y'all to be able to focus on content and getting it done, not have to worry about, well, are they going to be mad if we ask them to do this or,
I think it's Robert Greene that talks about make everything seem effortless.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, lighting. Right. But paddling like crazy underneath. We were definitely doing that. I'm not sure how effortless I made it seem on Monday afternoon when I was stressing with that one thing, but I don't think anyone was in here to hear my stress.
Yeah.
Okay. I was.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Oh man.
All right. So then we went on into this set. So we'd already had that kind of mostly set up for the previous guy the day before. So that was a pretty straightforward run of adding.
We still had to change out the studio. We still had to do
a switch out.
Yeah.
And you had to make it moody.
Yeah.
Don't forget the moodiness.
That's right.
Well, we had to go to standing, and we had to.
That's right.
I had to bring in that table and make sure he was standing in the right place and get the lighting all correct again, and from the hotel lobby set.
Wait, you made this moody later. Even more.
That's right. That's right.
Oh my gosh, so many changes.
I think we're beginning to learn. I mean, I sort of have kind of had this thought in my head.
Yeah.
Like the ultra wide shots are the most difficult. I mean, unless somebody's blonde and we're having like a straight shot, that's very close. But the wide shots,
that one,
they're the hardest to not only get the false color lighting correct, but also just to make it feel like from a oh my God,
visual
aspect, to make it fit right. And you'll pause it in a second.
I'm sorry.
Sure.
Hey, I'm going to try not. I was trying to move the playhead so you could see.
Gotcha.
All the way down to his feet.
Yeah, it's his pants here and his feet, and just standing. It just doesn't feel as good as any of the other shots, and that's sort of common.
It feels weird.
I will say I didn't use that shot as much just because of the pants.
Yeah, I'm not sure you used it at all.
I don't think we
just
did.
To pull it in, so it would force us to talk about it because it was like, okay, we set that up. because there is a sense of like, let's establish where they are in the space, but it just feels like the shadows are wrong. So
That's fake.
I think we abandoned this.
Yeah, his
I don't
feet,
think it's
too,
actually
are
in use at all.
That's a cool little insight. If for people, if you want to know, if we think it looks fake, we're not going to use it.
I just
Yeah.
won't cut to it.
Yeah,
Right.
we're just like, nope.
Well, and that also means then over prepare. Oh, okay. Two things. Over prepare your shots. Have some more shots than what you're actually going to use. So we always have something to go to. Number two, though, the other thing is because of that new last minute edition of that which turned out beautiful, that set of the fireplace, that compressed our time for the rest of the day. So we didn't get a chance, because we had these kind of impromptu set requests, to dial everything in quite as much as we normally would. And I think it still works. I mean, I think this looks fine. I think this looks great. But this is not, I would say this is at 90% dialed in, not 100% dialed in.
And you're adjusting those things on the fly, because you'll tell me, hey, don't cut to camera 4. I'm adjusting camera 4. Okay, you can go to 4. Don't go to camera 3.
It forced a lot of that, because we were under the gun to get these things out the door. I mean, we were behind because we had a lot of set changes. So we did that. We got it there, but it comes at a trade-off. Everything comes at a trade-off. So then they asked for a moody set. So we were like, what are we going to do, Morgan? So what did we end up doing?
Yeah, so we ended up like spinning around the room to get this shot that you're seeing here, and then I just changed the lighting super dramatic. You know, we had the window frames, but the issue we had was it was causing this optical illusion because of how sharp the shadows are. I think we solved it mostly.
I don't know.
But every once in a while I'll see it.
Sometimes you'll see like dots appear here, but they're not really appearing here. It's like your brain is especially when it's bright.
Oh, hey, that
or if
happens.
you really stare at it.
Whoa.
Yeah, if you really stare,
It's kind of like the
it'll
blind
happen.
spot test, almost.
So that was happening.
I just kind of had my mind blown.
Oh, that's
I didn't see
weird.
that until
you just saw it.
Yeah. So now you all see it, and
That's
we'll not be able to
hilarious.
Not
unsee
see
it.
it now.
The important thing is don't tell the client this.
Never tell the client.
But
Close your
we
eyes
couldn't
on
get shadows to soften in Unreal. So I'm having a hard time getting shadows, even with like trees and stuff outside, to kind of interact with the environment more. We removed the glass element out of the windows, and I don't know if that would have affected things inside of the environment. This is all in Unreal 5.1 as well.
Also, keep in mind that this one, we were in the middle of the last one that we were doing, and it was like, oh, hey, yeah, by the way, can we change it again? And so it was like,
Right.
Right.
We're like, what can we do? And we're under a very limited
the world
time.
around. Yes.
Yeah.
Very limited time. It was like, we need it on the next couple videos. And it's like,
Well,
we'll figure it out.
yeah. So we're over here sitting watching the production. I'm switching, and Jay's over there monitoring the files and the data levels, and you guys are over here planning the next
On Unreal.
on the fly set changes and stuff.
Right.
On one of the other computers that we
Unreal.
weren't currently
Yeah.
using at that time.
Right. Yeah, we were trying to build that out ahead of time. So
Good thing we have 6.
yeah, it's very intense. It was an intense day, but we got there. We got it.
yeah.
We got it there. But yeah, it was, and that's just the ultimate. I was just playing, just
long
kind of
day.
showing me videoing that. So all right, great. So that takes us to day 3.
Well, now let me say one more thing.
Okay,
My
sorry.
favorite.
Say one
Okay,
more
sorry.
thing. The client leaves at 6,
Uh-huh.
Oh right, yes.
And then-
This
I
is
think
an
it was
important thing.
6:30
or
that
whatever
day.
it is.
Yeah,
It was
We-
late.
It was late.
But then we have to get ready for tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we stay another couple of hours.
And the client didn't know that.
Oh, it doesn't. The client doesn't need to know.
I know, but I'm
It's
just
part of
saying.
it's part of the magic
The
trick.
client would have appreciated knowing, just because I would have felt better.
Part of the
We won't tell her.
Part of the effortless.
But anyway, we end up staying for another couple of hours to get ready for tomorrow, which is day 3.
Which makes sense because this video that you're about to see, if you cut over to this was taken at 7:56 p.m. That's right. So our sweet talent. So what we did is Jay's sitting on the set, and then we did a wipe where it's like the top part is.
You can see the table. If you look at the table, it's half.
Hang on. So we're having to reset up the same set. So this
Right. Yeah, that's right.
this lady is
Switch
going to come back in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And film her again on the next day, and it needs to look the same. So what we're doing now is trying to get everything lined up. And
It's
so
complicated.
at 8 p.m., this is extra hilarious.
We're
to
getting
put
giddy.
Jay's
We're
feet underneath that. That was super duper funny to us. You're welcome. There's no extra charge.
I just noticed the tables, Jay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That you're
the
talking about
tables,
down there?
and then the front table, and then the chairs, the chairs are back. Everything is just
Everything's
off.
just a
Just
little
slightly off.
Yeah, but you're not paying attention to that.
We got
You're looking
it.
at my legs.
got it.
You can't see any of that. You're just looking at the legs.
Yeah, that was
So that worked out really well, and then we used that same set just with some other talent that came on later that day. So she was there then in the morning, and then we had 2 other ladies that came on the set, and so they did the same shots. So it's just that wide, medium side.
Can we talk about the coaching that took place on this
Oh, do it.
for talent?
Yeah.
Well, I can't really speak to it, but Jay and Audrey might be able to speak on some of that.
What about it? Like, were they didn't
They
feel like
seemed kind of nervous, or that
Well-
was perceived.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, I was worried.
It was you.
Yeah.
I was worried. I had a bad attitude, I think. So I was like,
No.
I know. I'm
You
just
were
kidding.
being protective.
I
You
was
just
just
never
like-
know. You don't know until you get people in front of the camera if
Yeah.
they're going to be able to
Right.
deliver.
Right. Before they were on camera, just talking to them, 10 out of 10 nervous.
yeah,
Like, they were like very insular. And when talking to them, it was like, oh, we haven't done a lot of this speaking in this format. And so I was like, Audrey, just so you know.
But they
That
have
actually
hours
happened-
and hours and hours of YouTube content, where they're on podcasts and
Right.
stuff. So
we now know that.
yeah.
you know that now.
Some of us knew it before. But
And
we don't know what it is.
this isn't like an uncommon thing either. I mean, the same thing happened on the next day that we'll show you too.
Yeah.
Because people will come in and give you sort of this give you how they're feeling. They'll kind of give you some keywords about what they're feeling. Are you nervous? Are you excited or whatever? And so you kind of gauge it off of that. But you don't really know anybody's talent. But what's cool is when somebody's an expert. As a director, it's really nice to know that that knowledge that they have is downloaded into their brain for good. So it's all about figuring out a way to build their confidence up and then tell them like, hey, by the way, we're on your side. And if you do anything wrong, we're going to tell you.
Right.
And here's a way to feel natural if you stumble over a word so you don't feel like you have to be a perfectionist. And so it's just this like sort of small little formula that I've been kind of understanding and developing over time of like how to get the best out of people. And it worked both times. And it's not always me saying stuff. It's really them understanding that, oh, yeah, I'm an expert and I can talk about this all day. The camera doesn't matter.
It's like a
I just need to
combination.
do what I would normally do if there was a human on the other side.
Yeah, it's like a combination of them having said the things so many times. They know the content so well that they can say it in a different way, or they can stretch it or shorten it. And then you, Jay, unlocking them in terms of in front of the camera, it's okay to do this, it's okay to do that. And then when you combine those two things, then they can get up there and deliver.
Yeah, because everybody comes in here and they think I have to be a robot, perfect take, and it's like no, that doesn't compute in other people's brains. If you seem like a human, then they're gonna understand what you're saying, and it'll come across way more genuine.
Which takes us to day
Day
four. This was another fun surprise. So we had a Unreal setup, totally set for this, and
It looked really good.
Oh, by the way, we this is in no way bashful, but just to piggyback off what Tyler said a minute ago, we stayed till 8 p.m. doing the Unreal setup.
Yeah.
Getting it ready for
right,
in the morning.
Getting it
right.
ready.
So we stayed late, worked really hard we built out a new Unreal set. That's not what you're seeing, spoiler alert. And we built that all out. We felt really good about it, and came in the next morning, and various people had a different opinion about, hey, we really want it to look like it's in a coffee shop. And so it was like, oh, okay. All right. Stay tuned. So,
Hold, please.
hold please.
But it wasn't a demand or anything. It wasn't like, oh, I can't work under these conditions. It was more like, oh, I kind of wish it could be a coffee shop.
Yeah.
And we were like,
Mwah.
So luckily I had a coffee shop.
that we hadn't used in a long
This is the
time.
very first plate.
This is the very first plate. I filmed this plate in the middle of a 2-week remodel, destruction, rebuild of the studio from scratch. It was insane. And I had like literally an hour and went out and recorded this, never having recorded a plate before. there's some issues, but we've got them mostly resolved, and it looks really good. So
Yeah, it looks awesome.
I think he looked awesome on it. I loved some of the made-up shots that we did by just kind of zooming in. We're playing
bright background.
this shot right here is my favorite. I love that shot.
Oh, hey, actually, one thing we have not mentioned is that all of these plates that you're seeing that we used, the brilliant part
That's
about
great,
plates
yeah.
is you take the camera from the studio,
Okay, yeah,
and you
good.
film it on location with the exact camera, bring it back into the studio, take the measurements, and apply that, and you should get a good image. Well, these are all shot on not completely different cameras, but different cameras with a different sensor,
Yes.
with a different crop.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was a little bit of a battle trying to get them to look the exact same.
None of the measurements will work.
None of
None
the
of
measurements were
the only measurement that we figured out today, Tyler and I, the only
Yeah.
measurement that computed was height.
height from
Yeah.
the floor, lens height from the floor. Yeah.
But that's it. Everything else was kind of like, I guess we got to wiggle it in and make it look
let's
great.
Say that just a little
Oh.
further. What makes this work so well is that we are doing our best to triangulate the image to be exactly the same depth of field,
Yep.
everything, right? Because
Right.
if that camera was tilted up or down or panned a little left or right, it
Nope.
makes it all weird.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, everything looks fine until they move their hand out. And then it's like, why did their hand get all weird? And it's because the background is not perfectly in perspective.
Well, and
So-
getting the table to the plane of the table to match the plane of the other tables, and your mind, when you see something that's just a little bit off, your mind goes,
That's fake.
that doesn't work.
Yep.
But as soon as it's in sync, it's just like everything snaps, and it's like he's right there in that room.
I think the number one things for me that pop out that I would notice that are quote unquote wrong is the chromatic aberration because of the speed boosters that we had on the old cameras.
It's very noticeable on some of the wide shots, and Audrey doesn't know what that is, and so there's no
Yep.
reason for us to.
So
elaborate
let's
on
not
that.
talk anymore about it.
It's happy with the setup. so-
Moving right along.
But one of my favorite parts about this set though was, and I mentioned it to them the other day, is that if you were to shoot a straight line out of those windows and through across that street, through some houses, through that woods, Tyler's house would be right there.
Nice.
And I think when you shot this, I was out for COVID or something. I don't know. I was probably at home.
No, you were.
No, we were here.
No, this is.
Oh, that's
this is
right.
when we're
Oh,
doing the
right.
studio rebuild,
We were
which is a
building the-
repressed memory, which I understand because we're
That's
literally
right.
here
Oh, it wasn't that
24
long.
hours a day for 2 weeks.
Oh
to
my
get this
goodness,
all
building
done.
the green screen stage.
Wow.
Yes. Oh man.
But yeah,
That's a different story.
and then also
Yeah.
also one thing though was we were really worried because bright backgrounds
Yeah.
are harder to key out on.
Yep.
And he sat down, or actually it was Dylan was out there first, the mannequin, and you were like, it just works. And then he sat down. We were like, oh, it works. And you figured out it was because
I was going to say, I think that's Jay's version of the story, because my version of the story is, oh, dear God, please help me. Jesus, come quickly. Now's a great time to come, because I don't know how I'm going to pull this off, because the white has this like speckly thing that happens on the hair, and I'm like, we're hosed. And I've already kind of committed. It's
To the-
like,
to the
I'm
coffee
in.
shop, yeah.
Right. So the way we did this before, because literally the paint of the green screen was drying when we did this, is we put it into DaVinci Resolve. And just by the way, if you're a Resolve user, you need to use the Delta keyer. Don't use any other thing to key out. So if you've been using a different tool, the answer is Delta keyer. We've tried them all. So we Delta keyed and did it all in post. So, but bright backgrounds, the hair is a no-go. Never been able to make it work right. And I don't know if you can tell, but I mean, humbly, I think we got the hair looking pretty stinking awesome on this.
Yeah, it looks
like,
awesome.
Like you can see all this hair, everything. There's no weird speckly outline, nothing. And
There's no Sharpie,
right. There's no Sharpie. Well, maybe a little Sharpie line right here,
just very little.
but it's just, but that's it.
Minor.
And so what we've realized is the way I solved that is in those highlight areas, I do not have a hair light. So if I shoved a hair light on it where I would kind of hit this side, which if you think about it would make more sense that there's a little more. I mean, I have a small amount of coming over here. I don't have it hitting his head. As soon as I took that off his head, then it fixed it. It solved it, and it looks great. So if you're having some trouble with some hair, look at that. We've got all those individual hairs right through here, all of that. That's working great.
which
And
is
so-
funny because it's so backwards from what your brain would think. Your brain goes, oh, bright window, bright hair light.
which is technically how you should light it.
Right.
So, and I've got some hitting, like I've got it kind of cheating and hitting on the side, but on those other shots where it's hitting the edge, it's not really doing it. Anyway, that solved it. I'm curious next week to do a little more exploration on this, because we may have just unlocked a key thing that's been holding us back as a studio, bright backgrounds. So we'll see. But somehow this one worked. And at some point I just went like this, and I'm like, I'm not touching it anymore. This looks great. Let's go. So,
and throughout all of these days, now that Audrey's here, we can talk about this. But you had created this amazing schedule where we could look at that. And so what was great about it is we knew what content was coming up, and we knew, hey, look, guys, we're half an hour behind, or we're X number of, and the schedule kind of went out the window a little bit on this day. I think it kind of went off the rails a little bit, and we had to modify a lot. But having that schedule made it, and this is for other clients too, your ability to schedule all that made it where you could make sure you got all the content, everybody got what they needed, and we knew where we were at all times in terms of the overall content, even if it got modified and you had to rearrange and stuff like that. And having that, and we put it up on a screen here in our control room and in the hallway out there, and people could look at that and confer about what was going to be. You know, we have the Samsung frame out in the hall, and we had it everywhere, so everybody could look at it and knew where we were at all times. So, good job.
I'll double down on that too, because as the person who takes everything and makes it all into the thing that is going to be the final product, that is a massive help.
Yeah.
So I remember I asked you to change a couple things through email before we had met, and you were like, if this isn't okay, like, let me know. I'm like, no, this is way more than we ever get from anybody else. Thank you so much. And so for me to be able to look at it, to know what's coming up next, and et cetera, that was a big
I'm so glad. And I still would love some guidance on what else would be helpful for our future waves. So.
Yep.
Well, for instance, one of the things we did to your spreadsheet is then we took it and then we were applying, here's the name of the set. Like, here's what set this is.
Okay.
That's right.
So that was a big takeaway for us, is like, oh, we've got to indicate what set is this.
You had it in Google Sheets, so we could all look at it and collaborate with it.
Well, she didn't.
No, I didn't, but I'm going to do that next time, Tyler.
We put it in Google Sheets. We made a Google Sheet out of it or something. And so we could add that column, and we could say, okay, we're going to use this set and this set and this set.
Audrey's taking notes right now for people who can't see.
I am. That's what I'm doing.
To have a collaborative. Oh yeah, that's right. To have a collaborative document, that was really helpful.
I think I'll also add like a wardrobe assignment slot as well, like that kind of a column.
Yeah.
Well, I told you this too, and I think I'm gonna want to talk to you more. Like, we should definitely have a Zoom call or something in the future before you come. But I want to take that and I want to make a blank skeleton version and send that to clients.
Yeah,
I'm gonna bootleg my run of show.
I think
100%.
We would never tell you.
1,000,000%.
It'll be different colors. It'll be totally different.
Different colors. But no, because a lot of clients don't understand like that, how much that helps. And some do. A lot of the reoccurring clients we get eventually figure that out. But when people first come, it's like, oh yeah, I guess we're making these many videos and here's a list. But to be able to have the ROS is it takes it to another professional level.
I'll make you a blank version. How about that?
I didn't ask for it, but
I'll do it.
Love that.
I'll do it. Happy to.
So this brings us to a fairly dramatic moment in the week. So as we've been moving along, things are going pretty good overall. I mean, yes, we're being very adaptable, right, as a team, which, by the way, just like we killed it. Like, we were so adaptable and morphing into stuff. Way to go, everybody. Because it was hard to make those changes like that, and we did it really well.
And from the client side, we didn't know that you guys were like, A, staying really late, and B, that it was hard work. Like, we knew it was hard work, but it didn't feel like this is hard.
Right.
Like, we don't enjoy this and we're not happy. Right? I never got that.
I didn't say we didn't.
You get to ride the
No, that's what I'm saying. It never felt that way, but it could have felt that way.
That's because you're not in the closet in the back where we're going,
you get to ride the Mad Hatter's teacups and don't have to worry about picking up the trash and turning the lights off at the end of the day.
Sure,
so that's what we want.
That's such a
make it all effortless.
It's a magic trick.
Sorry.
So something that wasn't effortless for all of us is the next two ladies came in and they prepped like crazy. Like, they were so prepared. And I asked, and they said, we need teleprompter. And just so you know, my opinion on teleprompter is like I avoided buying teleprompters for so long. Because I'm like, everybody uses a teleprompter as a big thumbs down unless they're awesome at it. And most people at the time, especially that we were using, just weren't very used to using a prompter. And it was like, this is bad. And so I asked them, oh, you're doing two of you are going to do a presentation together. Oh, but it's teleprompted. No problem. Well, we'll do this and make this where you can see it here and here. But I asked them, I'm like, is this like conversational? Have you guys written this? And they assured me like, yeah, I know. I mean, it's good. And it was. The content was like, if you read this content, it's A+. Yeah. But on screen, the performance went big thumbs down.
Yeah.
And it was like, we're in here freaking out. I know you were freaking out.
I was feeling
concerned.
Sad.
Right.
I think
right,
more than anything,
like,
I was like, oh, like they've worked so hard and this is just not it will fall flat.
Yeah.
I just knew it would probably not be one of our better segments.
Right.
So
and again, content was A+. The people were A+. That they were trying to read the prompter and that was what was just breaking it. So besides an enormous amount of prayer that I think everyone was doing in the moment of like, what can we do to solve this?
Yeah.
How did we solve this, Audrey? What ended up happening? Was it you that figured this out? Who made this decision?
I think that Heather, my colleague, and I.
Shout out Heather. She's not here.
Yeah, she's not
Yeah,
here.
She
was awesome.
She had to fly out early.
We love her.
Awesome.
But anyway, so I think she and I just looked at each other and we were like, we got to do something. And we know, like, we trust these people. There's a reason why they've been recruited to this incredible, amazing project. And so we conferred and said, okay, do you trust me? Is this going to be okay? And we just walked in there and pitched it to them. Like, we tried to be very humble and not have it be this like, hey, by the way, we're changing your whole thing. And we presented it to them as an option and asked them for their trust.
What did you present to them as an option?
Oh, I'm so sorry. You can tell I don't do this all the time. So we asked them to put away the script and to remove the teleprompter. We would be glad to place their outline on the teleprompter, but that is all. And we knew that they'd already written a book. This information was deep in their souls and in their brain. They're brilliant women, hardworking. All that they needed to do was just talk to each other about it.
And that was hard for them because when I talked to them earlier in the day, they were like, they didn't say it this way exactly, but I asked them, well, why did you write it? And they were like, essentially paraphrasing them to make it faster. Every word matters and time is of the essence. Like, we know we have a short amount of time, so we've crafted every single word. Like, that's the level of intentionality they put into it. And so you could see, like, making them let go of that. It's like, but we just spent all of our time crafting it. Exactly. But you convinced them to let go. We hit record. And Morgan, you can kind of cut over and show what this looks like. So here's the set. This is Unreal. You guys, they killed it. Like, it was
amazing.
So good. It was just great. It was compelling. Again, remember, I'm just cutting random segments, so it's not going to look very cohesive as we look through this. But it was awesome. It was like, this is fantastic.
Yeah. Yep.
And they just slayed it. And then after they did the first one, I think maybe Heather was crying. Like, I mean, it was like, it was emotional because we were like, maybe we messed up. And then this just like full redemption. Yeah.
And it was 1,000% more watchable than what they were going to do. And they're subject matter experts, and they work together, and they're like friends. So it was like two friends talking about this high level content in a way that was just like offhand, like. And then they had the notes, and so I could see them look at the notes and then just flow right into the next topic, and it was so smooth.
Yeah, so both of these, I won't say their name, but both of these ladies had the exact same name, so it's really easy to talk to them over the microphone. But what I noticed was, so they individually did an introduction piece for each one of them. And when I was talking to the lady in the blue, she was extremely nervous about the camera. And so whenever she would talk to the camera, it felt very rehearsed, but also kind of like awkward. But then she would turn and talk to me, and it was like, okay, no, you understand this and you know how to talk to people. So I worked with her for a minute on being like, hey, don't worry about the camera. You know, you do have this passion, you do have this energy when you talk to me. So I was like, we just got to figure that out. And as soon as they dropped the script and they did just their outline and they were talking to each other, I saw it. And I went in after the first one. I went up to her and I was like, I told you. I was like, you definitely have it in you. It's just finding the right way to deliver it. So in the end, by taking the outline that was at the top of each section of their script and only giving them that to go off of, it ended up being awesome.
And it was. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and the content was fabulous. It was exactly what we needed. So even though they were so concerned about getting every single word in, they ultimately accomplished the same goal, and it was much more natural and believable.
We were talking about them today, and remember, because we were talking about this just earlier, and I was like, yeah, dude, they wrote a book. Like, they know what they're talking about. The information is downloaded. So, you know.
Yeah.
The principle I think that we came to was it would be better for it to be more watchable and miss one or two key points or one or 2 points than for it to be unwatchable and hit every single point perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Morgan, we did this in Unreal.
Sure
why
did.
Don't you, we sure did. Why don't you pull over? Do we have Unreal?
Yeah.
Is this on this?
Yeah, let me.
I love this. So this was
There we
super
go.
awesome because
Oh, cool.
we had to build this also.
Oh my goodness, you guys were building it on the fly.
Right? Because we had to decorate the background.
See all the failed decorations.
Yeah, the
Back-
bookshelf.
Back here, all the shelf.
Just thrown to the
Morgan had
side.
thrown a bookshelf in it, and it was like, that is too much, dude. We got to get that out of there. That
All-
Each
bookshelf.
individual book.
All you thousands of repeat watchers of this, you'll also recognize that we've used this on
Thousands.
a different shot before. So that way, shooting at that wall, we've
So-
used that where we drug the
Angles.
bookshelf over, deleted the stairs, and created a set that way
Yeah.
too. So.
Yeah, so we've used this set a lot, and one of the things is there's a pool out here that we don't like, and so I've been modifying it and putting in this like seating area kind of thing, kind of to break that up. Like Jay was saying, we've shot on this wall, we've shot kind of back this way, which is what we ended up using for this. But Andre and I worked together to pull down different decor items and things like that.
Yeah, that
kind of
lamp,
over decorated.
that lamp with the light hitting the wall like that was sold for me.
Yeah.
Thought it was awesome.
Weren't you sitting up there with y'all three were sitting up there looking at Unreal, picking out doodads and furniture, and y'all were like designing the set.
We were. So essentially, we got it roughed in, and then what was that? Ding. That's it's 57 minutes and you're still watching this.
You win a prize.
Yeah, so we got it roughed in, and then we brought Audrey over, and it's like, hey, what do we want to do? So kind of my strategy there in real or physical or virtual sets is just to kind of like bring in a bunch of items and be like, do we like this lamp or this thing? And so just kind of quickly going through and being like, yeah, not that one, not this one. It makes it really easy to kind of
we were
focus
taking
in on
stuff
what to
from
choose
different
from.
parts of the.
Yeah, so we have like a bedroom up here, so we stole some stuff from up here and brought it down. Our backs didn't even hurt as we moved it. And is this one converted to Lumen? Did you say that?
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
also converted fully into Lumen.
Yep.
So we had super dynamic lighting, which was really nice to have.
Okay, it was kind of nice to have.
Oh,
So if you cut back over just real quick to the keynote here, the challenge was because it is dynamic sky and dynamic lighting, that background. So there's like a skylight or windows on the second floor that are coming in. So right there on this shot, it was making this. I loved this blue color right here, but occasionally it was making all of this area turn like yellow because it was just like clouds and stuff were going in front of the sun, and it
I'm
was
gonna
like
show that
rendering
real
that.
quick here.
Yeah, so see that little
There's a
area.
whole skylight
there's a
up here.
skylight right there.
Yep.
So it was like, this looks beautiful, and then I'd kind of go over to another shot and mess with it, come back, and I'm like, why does it look all weird and yellow? So. I ended up waiting for a cloud, which is hilarious, to come in Unreal, and then and then when the cloud came
That's
over the
possible?
sun, I know. Then I paused the background and froze it on the Ultimate so that I could have that pretty kind of blue color here, and then I had that match with the background. So so that was a
That
hilarious
pause function, that freeze frame function in the Ultimate has come in handy a few times.
It sure has. So see, that way I could get both of these backgrounds looking nice. And you can see subtle things like the depth of field is doing a nice thing as we punch in and all that. Anyway, I think this turned out really great. It was super pretty.
Yeah.
And on top of that, the chemistry they had in this was not, it was just good anyway. But because of the juxtapositioning of them reading it and then coming to just being natural talking, it was euphoric. It was like, thank you that all of this came together and worked right. Yeah.
Also,
it was a big win.
First off, I love when you use the word juxtaposition. Second off, the lady on the left requested Tyler Childers, which is one of my favorite artists of all time. And I don't always get to play my favorite kind of music here.
That's hilarious.
So on the work day, I was singing. It was hilarious. I'm sure I was annoying at one
That's
point.
super funny.
One of our key things that we do is we try to play music for the clients, whatever it is that they like.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that seems to help so much. And we have a good sound system in the studio, so we're always asking, well, what kind of music do you like?
Oh, and shout out to our audio engineer, Sean, who just left us and said he listens to these sometimes. He's been getting really good at, okay, they're done with a take. I'm going to just go ahead and kind of fade that music in nicely. And that is a big, and sometimes I'm like, hey, Sean, can you bring the music in? And he's like, yeah, you guys aren't playing anything. I'm like, oh, dang it. It's like, yeah, we got to go hit play. But he's gotten, when there is music, he's gotten really good at bringing it in and helping the vibe of in there. Because when you cut,
really helps.
And then it's just silent and you're in there by yourself and we're in here doing a million things. It's like, da-da-da. But if your favorite song comes on.
Sound is critical.
Yep.
It's critical.
Huge.
It can elevate the mood quicker than any other thing. Is sound. And so we use sound in two ways. We certainly use it with music. And then what's the other thing that we're doing?
Yeah, I was just going to ask you.
Favorite thing? So personally, my favorite thing is to hit the Zelda and the Mario coin button. But we also, we have a whole sound effects board. We've talked about it in the past. So
on our Stream Deck.
Yeah, on our Stream Deck. So after each person do a full take and then they're done, instead of it being like, cut, great job, which is like what they would hear from anybody, we have an applause button. And I still haven't there's only one person who didn't like it, but that's because he wanted sarcasm and he wanted the booing.
That was this week. He said, thanks.
But that's
that was
weird.
weird. That's kind of weird. And it was like, okay, what do we do after that? Because that's been kind of a thing we've been doing. And so I did
crickets.
A boo or crickets, or something at the end of it. Crickets. Yeah. And so he gets done, and then it's just crickets. And then he loved it. He's not one to just be super laughy guy, and he just he cracks this smile because it's like, oh, that's hilarious.
But the resounding the feel that we get from the applause is most people literally die laughing, lean back in their chair, clap, and they're loving it, and then their favorite song comes on.
And
then we wait, and then we're going to the next take. Yeah.
Blue ribbon to Morgan because on day 4, the guy that was in the coffee shop said, oh, that's a Mario Brothers sound. Haha. Yeah, you know what? It'd be cool to have a Zelda something or other. And so Morgan immediately started
in 20 minutes had it ready to go.
And then so the next
I think by the time he was done with the next,
it was the first button I hit. I literally had a new button that appeared on my Stream Deck, and it was the Zelda logo, but it said,
remember I said do not
touch. And I was like, oh my, I want to touch that so bad. But he was like, I'm just afraid that I would trigger it in the middle of the recording. So, but yeah. Literally, the next time we had a break, we were pressing the Zelda button.
Yeah. And so he was like, he made just a very passing, almost invisible comment, right?
No one would ever get this comment.
Right. It's like, well, we have to have it.
Zelda.
Of course we've got to have it.
And then, boom, there, we've got it.
Yeah.
So music's powerful. So Audrey tells me this morning, I'm asking you about music. You start rattling off some artists that, first of all, you came in. What did you come into when you came? Do you remember if?
Yes.
Okay.
It was immediately on the counter waiting for me, a spinach and avocado and oat milk or almond milk smoothie, which is what I normally have for breakfast. And so at home, but this week I have been very disobedient and eating all of the pastry you could ever have, and sometimes 2 a day. And it's been awesome. I feel like I've been on vacation. But today I got to have a green smoothie, and it was such a joy. And then you started asking me about music.
Yeah. Well, you came in and said, because what were you already hearing playing? Because I was
it was Jukebox the Ghost, which was just like some obscure funny song that I'd mentioned a couple of days ago.
So I made sure I waited to play that until you came in, and then I hit it.
Yeah.
So it would make sure you would hear it.
So thoughtful.
How did you feel when you heard it?
Well, it was really like, so all of this is like, I feel listened to and loved and like actually noticed and appreciated.
It's not just for
Which
the
doesn't
on-screen
happen.
talent. It's not just for the on-screen talent. It's for staff and customers too.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody.
It's very humbling. It makes me want to come back. I'll come back.
Yay, come back. We're so glad. We got you a spot and everything here.
Yeah.
You made it to the show. You're
To say nothing of a few days ago, I sat down in one of these chairs in the control room, which is notoriously cold, and there was a warm heating pad on my seat with a blanket.
Hey, whatever.
Who does
Touch.
So listen, if somehow you're in, if you're an hour and whatever into
Shout out Andrew Pelock.
but if you're listen, this is the stuff that matters. Like, we've got to do great on camera, but to me, it's all these little tiny details. They're stacked. They're all just stack. And when all that comes together, hopefully it creates an overwhelming in a good way experience of just like, what is this? You said, I feel like I made new friends.
Oh, yeah. I've said that multiple times this week.
Yeah.
Not just to you guys, but
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like I have a new friend group in
Yeah.
Chattanooga, which, P.S., you guys are my only friends in Chattanooga. I've never been here before.
Right.
So, it's awesome.
Yeah. And that's outside of making the video, like
Yep.
we still did all that and we cranked that like crazy. Like, we have that really great. But to me, I feel like we're really stepping into our own of like the experience. We're getting the experience crafted in a way.
Yeah, the customer experience.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, and
we-
you sent somebody out. I overheard you sending somebody out to go buy another heating pad because there were two people sitting up here that needed warmth enhancement.
that actually brings us to what I was going to say is that it would be ill-advised for us to not mention Shelby. Emma is in Colombia currently.
Yes.
So we had to have somebody
defected.
do it.
She defected to the country of Colombia.
So she's there and she's not with us for this week. So Shelby, your sister-in-law, stepped in and did
she
a
killed it.
fantastic.
Amazing.
Did a
Yep.
great job. I have no flattering pictures of her. I only took this picture the whole week. I
This
don't
is
know
the
how I
perfect
missed it. But this picture here, this is Shelby coming into the control room, and she was leaving for the day, and she's like, "Hey, I haven't this strawberry whatever water," and so so she's like, "Here, do you want some?" And then she's bringing it in. I just
And I
like
was
that's
like,
hilarious that
yes.
she's bringing that in to give some water. Shelby killed it this week.
Yeah,
and
she did. Did a really
just
good
did a
job.
fantastic job on that. And so from the food, everything, it was very seamless, and it just felt great. Everything felt awesome. I'm trying to see. There you go.
Dude, sandwiches
Wow.
with
We had
potato
some honey
salad.
baked ham sandwiches.
Had no
one
idea
day.
honey baked ham makes sandwiches.
And me either. Totally didn't
They
know.
do. You can actually go and eat there, by the way.
Yep.
Yeah, we do. And so we had and then she even had a little charcuterie board because the clients had come in the afternoon on the first day.
Oh,
and
yeah, I
so,
missed that.
we realized like, wait, we didn't feed them lunch because they came in after.
They missed lunch,
She
yeah.
killed it. So this is just a couple of samples of the food
Wow.
we have.
Wow.
And so
Blue
we tried to
Fox.
have really great, amazing experience. We're not trying to like go super extreme. Like, we're not trying to make it feel like 5-star dining, but it should feel like very, very good food.
the Waldorf Astoria.
Right.
Studios.
We're not trying to, because we're not trying to act like something we're not. But yeah.
No, I was just going to say, to say nothing of warm, like freshly baked warm cookies when you leave the studio. Like when you're exiting the studio, you finished your segments and they're like, "Hi, would you like a cookie?"
And it smells up the whole place.
The best.
Oh,
They're right here.
there's some leftovers. Yeah.
Anyway, I apologize for interrupting you.
No, that's all that stuff. The $7 worth of cookies or whatever it is. Maybe it's 20. I don't know. Whatever it is, it's just like, that's a small thing to just be like, hey, you did it. Because there is a feeling. It's a long day, and just to have that, plus the smell of cookies is like, are you kidding me?
Air freshener.
Yeah, it's amazing. Okay.
Day 5.
Man, day 5. We're almost done. So here's day 5. So this is what day 5 looked like. Same set all day long. This my wife is a school teacher, so we were able to actually shoot this plate as the set. And this lady came in, and she also had teleprompter word for word. Okay, remember we just had this terrible experience with that where it didn't go really well, so we're nervous. At least I'm nervous. And we get it all on there, and she sits down, and she is ready to go, and she just
Annihilated it.
She was so good. Like, it was literally word for word, and she just killed it.
Yeah.
She was so good at it. And so for her, that was a strength for her to have it that way.
Yep.
Yeah.
She's one of the rare. There are people that can look at a teleprompter and deliver it as if it was just off the cuff or whatever. And she's one of those people that can read directly from a teleprompter and still have it be lively in the delivery of it.
Well, she doesn't. She reminded me a lot of Harris, one of our other clients, Harris the Third. She reminded me of him because she would deviate slightly from the words that were on the teleprompter, but she would bring it right back in within a half second. So it was like you are reading, but at the same time you're not. Like it's a skill that not everybody has, and when that person does have that skill, the machine that is the studio is flowing because we got all of her videos done in almost less than 2 hours.
Yeah.
And with others, the speed, it was not that fast.
There was some setup, right, of getting things going. But so if you've watched this far, I have a special bonus treat for you as we wrap this episode up. We had to shoot a plate before we had another. You'll see. So this was the previous time we had filmed this. So we were using that as reference to get our levels and everything right. So Jay's sitting down, the T-bar is halfway dissolved between the two. And here's Jay kind of lining up
the client that was on the previous
with the previous client. And I'm like,
something really strange happened. We don't know what happened.
It's so funny. So, oh my gosh.
Between my legs being on the bottom of somebody else's body and me being morphed into somebody who's a female.
Baby Jay or something.
These things happen all the time. So this is just one example of a ton of deliriously dumb videos.
One last shout out. Audrey was running teleprompter today.
Yeah.
Learning how to operate that thing and doing a great job.
The prompter is ready.
Prompter's ready.
Well done.
Yeah, that's one thing we do before we start recording is everybody goes around and says they're ready. And
But the prompter has to be the most depressing person because Tyler used to always do that.
And so prompter would always just get more and more depressed. I didn't know they had taught her that. And I came in and I'm sitting down because I'd stepped out for a little bit. And I'm like, yeah, Ultimate's ready and whatever's ready. And then you go, prompter's ready.
So good. You died laughing. It was perfect.
I loved it.
Biggest takeaways are, if you can pull up this keynote last time on this one, Morgan. One is the more the outfits can be cohesive with the background. So in this one, we've got pink things in the set, and through God's grace, she had to
bring a pink top.
And look at that pink. Look how in each shot there's this pink splash. And it just ties it all in, and it makes it feel so intentional and so not distractional. It's just like, it just makes it all feel, your brain just goes, this is all how it's supposed to be. So that's something we're going to be working on in the future as we move forward, is like, okay, let's really start coordinating. What are the sets? What are the colors? What are their outfits?
So, so many things, we get so lucky. And things, can you pause it right here? And then
sure.
Morgan, can you remove the super source just for a half second? Tyler chose those pins. Now, Tyler, did you go, oh, pink, I need to get pink pins?
I did. I wanted to get pink in there. But
smart.
But I had to
I didn't know if you did that on purpose or not. But that's
not coincidence.
As I'm sitting here, I'm looking at that and I'm going, dang, well
I also
done.
had the really cool green highlighters that match the basket, but when you put them on camera, they either disappear or turn brown.
Right.
A weird color, so I had to take all the green ones out.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you very much for watching this episode.
Is this the longest one so far?
This is long. What I did not say is what the things are. So the things are outfits really help coordinate. Color coordination is a really big thing. Yeah. Being responsive to set design changes, like having those in our back pocket, but also doing everything we can to really coordinate that on the front end so that we can dial it in. And then the other thing we've learned is doing a week. There was a time where I think I would have said, I'll give you a discount if you'll book 5 days in a row.
Yeah.
But now I realize, like, actually I should charge more money because
Gauntlet.
Well, changing that many sets.
Right, because of all the set changes. Because normally we've done multiple days, it's like the same talent, and we're just kind of doing more of the same. But in this scenario, it made it where we had to come extra early and then stay extra late. So it's like, this is not a sustainable model. So one of the things we talked about is like, maybe we'll do a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then we'll use the Tuesdays and Thursdays and the Friday before to set up everything so that each day can go in. So, something that we always have to be careful of is how do we make this sustainable for our family? And the reason why that's so important is that's where we're going to end. Because for us, it's 4:01 p.m., which is exactly 1 minute past when I'm supposed to leave to go see my son graduate college. So thank you for watching.
Hey, but don't let that keep you people from subscribing, liking, and commenting. Remember, I said 10 points for that one image, okay?
Andre's
so if you would not
out.
mind sharing this with your friends, liking, subscribing, that's going to help us. Peace.
Thanks for watching.